I know that ain't who I think it is.
I ain't dreaming.
What is this? Huh? This is rock.
Hell no.
In and out, how we be moving. All gas, no break, yo, we be cruising. You and I. Later in life, I'm talking about like last year, I bought my first pair of And1. I bought some socks from Walmart because I don't know if And1 got an exclusive deal to where only they socks is in Walmart, but I needed a pair of black socks, and that's all that was on the shelf, some And1 socks. Let me see this. How And1 fumbled, what happened?
And1 used to be everywhere. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the NBA was experiencing rapid growth. The popularity of organized professional basketball was reaching new heights. It was becoming a global phenomenon. Right alongside it, though, was the growth of another basketball phenomenon, streetball. From Rucker Park in Harlem, we'd see streetball in its finest, most raw form. We'd watch.
Bro, And1 used to be so major. When they was coming to your city, you would see the commercials on TV. I remember seeing this. I remember when they added the professor, it was like a big deal. Bro, I was like, crazy. Also, just to let y'all know, if y'all want to hear some And1 stories like that, I do know that they have a podcast with the older guys that was on there. I actually listened to it like last year. I think I told y'all about that. The podcast is fire though.
Watch as Hoopers went from playing in the park to playing in the garden, from having no money to making millions. And1 put the phenomenon of streetball on a global stage, and that alone made them a force to be reckoned with. But what exactly happened to them? What happened to And1, and why did they fail?
Your uncle have me have amazing.
Streetball was created by Dr. James Naismith, a Canadian PE teacher way back in the late 1890s, way before you guys were rocking collars after getting dogged. The game began with a soccer ball and peach baskets with the bottom.
At Canada, he made it in America though, so I don't give a he was Canadian. This is an American sport. That he was in America when he made it. If he was in Canada, he would have been thinking of some other. No, y'all don't get credit.
Bottoms cut out. Bro was such a genius that he created the game of basketball for the sole purpose of keeping his students active during the winter. He had no idea of the importance of what he had just created. But just 7 years later, the National Basketball League was founded. Basketball was legitimized, with several regional leagues popping up around the US. Then there was the National Basketball League and the Basketball Association of America, who would later merge in 1936 to become the National Basketball Association, also known as the NBA. And as you know, since its inception, basketball's popularity continued to grow at a rapid pace. The NBA was prestigious. There was no other league a young kid could aspire to one day join. But then, in 1993, just as the NBA began releasing VHS tapes like NBA Jam Session, another world of professional basketball opened up. And1 was born.
Look at how many people they had watching them.
To understand it and love it, first you have to know the fundamentals: dribbling, passing, and shooting. And1 took that love and injected it full of style, finesse, and flashiness. And there were some real characters who emerged from the streetball scene, with basic names like Grayson.
Hey, before he said it, who is y'all favorite And1 character? I mean, not character, but a person. I'm pretty sure the main one is gonna be the professor. Professor, it's cold, bro. Hot Sauce, Ayo, Spider, Blue Bayou, tough name. Escalade was fire too. I remember always making fun of Escalade because he was a picture on. There was a video of him on. No, sorry, it was a picture of him on Slam magazine. Why the f had Escalade biting the rim? He already a bigger bro. Trying to eat the goddamn rim. But W names, bro.
Rafer and Troy.
Can't forget Skip to My Lou like that.
Swapped out for gritty nicknames like the Professor, Skip to My Lou, and Escalade.
Come on now.
NBA players' nicknames like the Human Highlight Reel, the Mailman, and Sean Kemp's nickname, the Rain Man. Although the nicknames were similar, And1's baggy street-style uniforms were a far cry from John Stockton's short shorts. Game commentators like Duke Tango even walked on the court trash-talking on handheld mics. It was the same game, but somehow worlds apart from what anyone had ever seen before. And don't get me wrong, the 90s NBA had some flashy players like Mark Jackson, Jason Kidd, and Penny Hardaway, but for the real hoopers, there was a new crew in town, and that was And1. And1 was the brainchild of Seth Berger, Jay Gilbert, and Tom Austin when they were graduates at the
I've never knew this. I ain't gonna lie. I thought some neighborhood made this. Boy, look at these three. Man, y'all changed the culture.
Bon 1702
Bon,
just resubscribed for 3 months.
What the?
You favorite streamers right now. Don't get to catch a lot of them because I live in the UK, but always watch the gods and YouTube videos.
Hey man, hey Barn, thank you so much for the guy sub, bro. I appreciate you. My bad for not streaming at UK friendly times. My fault, gang. But hey, this nigga said a bunch of titles. Let's keep going. You know what was so fire about And1 too? That in the cities they was going to, man, they would be like offended that them And1 thought they was better than them. So all of a sudden,
Reckless Frog
being mad, the
X
game is fire.
Escalade showed me as a fat I can hop too, lol. I was that big kid that was forced to play football.
Yeah. Hey man, it gave new role models you never thought about. That's a fact, because Escalade, you didn't see no Escalades in the NBA. But in And1, wow.
University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. What began as a school project quickly infiltrated the racks of sporting goods stores all across the country and eventually the world. And it all began with a single t-shirt of a faceless basketball player doing a crossover and the now iconic And1 logo on it. And thanks to the early success of selling these shirts out of their cars, they decided to keep it going, creating more designs and adding more trash talk slogans across the t-shirts like, "Call me the surgeon, I just took your heart out," and "Call me Benjamin, because I'm on the money." And guess what? Ate them up. It was a massive hit. They lost money in the first year, but that was to be expected as none of them knew anything about merchandising. Despite this, they still raked in an incredible $1.6 million in sales. Not bad. Year 2 kicked off with a $13,000 order from Foot Locker, placing And1 products in 1,500 stores across the country. They were a hit and even appeared on your guys' favorite show, Friends. Fun fact, the name And1 is actually a real basketball term. An And1 in the game of basketball is when a player gets fouled.
Oh, we didn't know that.
In the act of shooting, and the ball goes in at the same time, awarding the player with 2 points for the made basket and the opportunity to add 1 more point via the free throw line. You'll often hear players.
And1 might be the most overused term in basketball. I feel like it might, because you know he ain't foul you and you yelling, "And1!" You know he ain't foul you. You know that
on TV when you're watching basketball yell out "And1" mid-air, signaling to the ref that they were fouled.
At 28, Westbrook setting up Turner, gets to the rim and scores.
Okay, back to the And1 story. From the success of the t-shirts, they knew that if they wanted to compete with the likes of Nike, they would have to venture into the world of sneakers. First, they would need to get themselves a basketball star because all the major sportswear brands had basketball stars, right? And1 would need one to compete for market share. They found their star in a promising NBA prospect by the name of Stephon Marbury. And1 signed him to a 10-year deal in 1996 before he even played a single game in the NBA. With Marbury, they would launch the very first And1 basketball shoe, the
That's so weak.
And1 Stephon Marbury's. Okay, check that off the list. And1 sneakers were now in stores and were now on the feet of a future NBA star.
I ain't gonna let Marbury clean the And1 though.
And1 sneakers were now in stores and were now on
Cool clean the And1 fit.
The feet of a future NBA star. Great. But things took a turn for the worst fast, as Marbury broke his ankle in his highly anticipated
shoes. The logo looked like the Foots. That looked like Bigfoot on that shoe. Y'all got my hurt, man.
NBA debut. Literally the first game of the season, he breaks his ankle. And1 thought they were finished. And then, a stroke of marketing genius. Enter the And1 mixtapes. The idea for the mixtapes began in 1998 when a VHS tape containing footage of a then unknown streetballer named Rafer Alston, later to be known as Skip to My Lou, was handed to And1's co-founder, Seth Berger. Alston's flashy style of play, which included ankle-breaking crossovers and insane ball handling, was unlike anything seen in traditional basketball highlight reels. Recognizing the potential appeal of this style of play, And1 decided to distribute the tape as a promotional item with purchases of their shoes. This specific
He a
VHS
rapper
tape
now? Get to my little rapping? What's that rap name? His son? I searched Skip through my little and seen some kid cartoons.
became the very first And1 mixtape. They pressed 50,000 tapes and gave them away for free. They handed them out to streetballers, people in barbershops, anyone who would take one. It was a massive hit, and for the And1 mixtape volume 2, they needed to capitalize on the moment. Another stroke of marketing genius. And1 would decide to tour the country, and they called their new live events business the And1 Mixtape Tour, which was essentially a traveling streetball exhibition. At first, the tour would visit various cities across the US where local players could challenge the And1 team. If a local player performed exceptionally well, they had the chance to join the And1 team and continue on the tour as an And1 endorsed player. During a tour date in Atlanta, And1 discovered a young fellow by the name of Philip Champion, better known as Hot Sauce. His impact was priceless as he raised the bar with his skills. But it wasn't just his basketball skills he would wow audiences with. He played with a great sense of humor, kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters do. Leaving his opponents looking so awkward and embarrassed, he would leave the crowd laughing. Hot Sauce immediately helped the popularization of streetball. And1 snapped him up and hit more cities. And once Volume 3 was released, And1 created a promotion with Foot Action where if you bought any of the And1 products,
said, Carrie, you watching the wrong kind of game, my boy. Ain't no such thing. Ain't no rules in this
store, you'd receive a copy
throw the ball at your face. What you gonna do about a startup?
Of the latest mixtape. This would get them into even more hands across the country, and in the first 3 weeks alone, around 200 tapes were handed out. Crazy. Thanks to the success of the tours, ESPN pursued And1 for a reality show, and in 2003, Streetball, the And1 Mix Tour show, debuted. The show followed the And1 team as they toured various cities, showcasing the streetball games, the players, and even the local talent at each stop of the tour. It was a genius way for And1 to promote the brand and recruit talent at the same time. The local players were invited to participate in open tryouts to challenge the And1 team and potentially even earn a spot on the roster. At a show in Portland, Oregon, a young Grayson Boucher, also known as the Professor, decided to attend the tryouts. He was only 18 years old, but he was a young phenom. He wasn't tall, wasn't as athletic as his opponents, and couldn't dunk, but the kid had insane handles, could pass and shoot like no one's business. He was a quiet, unassuming player, but could immediately command the court no matter the size and strength of his opponents. And1 had to sign him. And to this day, the Professor is one of the most recognizable names to come out of the
Honestly, I really do think that the Professor is the most recognizable name in the in And1, and I just think that it was really it's because it was surprising how young he was, and bro was nice. Bro was nice. Period. It don't matter what the he was. What that was cold.
The And1 mixtape tour and streetball scene. Before they knew it, the mixtape tour took them from the streets to arenas. Business was booming, and so they thought they should give sneakers another shot.
I think him and Hot Sauce, if I had to guess.
The And1 Tai Chi was born.
Can you do streetball moves? No. Absolutely not. I might heard something. Me and basketball don't go together, bro. Because I never learned to dribble, and I'm not gonna keep bringing up my trauma. One of the reasons why I never learned to dribble is because I was a football first, and them basketball, y'all know what y'all be doing. Y'all take advantage of the that don't know how to hoop and call a carry on everything, but then y'all are carrying it. So that's one of the reasons, those real why I never dribble. Why I never learned, bro.
Still regarded by
y'all bad.
By many to be one of the greatest basketball sneakers ever. Vince Carter
said, right, big carry. I swear, hey, one of my carry, bro, carry. Hell nah. I'm like, man, I can't do nothing. Hey, and guess what? He can dribble.
They thought he wore them during the 2000 NBA Slam Dunk Contest, even though he was signed.
Wait, he was wearing And1s then?
Business was booming.
This is an iconic clip. I didn't know he was wearing And1s in here.
So they thought they should give sneakers another shot. The And1 Tai Chi was born. Still regarded by many to be one of the greatest basketball sneakers ever. Vince Carter certainly thought so, as he wore them during the 2000 NBA Slam Dunk Contest, even though he was signed to Puma at the time.
Boy, they would whoop your ass if you do some shit like this again. Being signed to an endorsement deal and wearing somebody else's shoe.
Designer Tom Austin.
You'll never work in this town again. You're done.
Incorporated an asymmetrical design in the shoe. And as for the OG colorway, nothing popped more than a bright red and pristine
I ain't
white
gonna lie
upper.
though, them
They were a
classic.
hit. And although they didn't come from Nike, Reebok, or any of the other well-known brands at the time, you would have never known. A symbol of both performance and
Ugly
culture.
as
Basketball
back, though.
fans and sneakerheads still appreciate the Tai Chi to this day for what it represents.
This is not the worst shoe. Now, I used to make shoes that look like this in 2K15 when I finally unlocked the custom shoe endorsement deal, but it's not the worst shoe.
All right, booming with success at this point.
This game is, don't ever let your nostalgia lie to you. Absolutely garbage game. I'm telling you, but
And1 even had their own video game, as they teamed up with Ubisoft to release And1 Streetball. Players could create their own basketball player and enter them into the And1
this game
mixtape
is
tour,
so
of being signed to the team in the video game.
Yo, somebody, listen, yo, this game is so like real, bro. Play it on stream. I'm telling you, it ain't even one of them games, bro. Like, oh my goodness.
The game even allowed them to create their own trick moves.
They had a fire
and was
roster,
available
though.
on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Okay, looking back now, And1 seemed unstoppable in the early 2000s. I mean, their own video game? So what happened? Why did they fall off so hard? What was perhaps the turning point for And1 came in the fashion of an ad, and not one of their own. Nike released
Nike killed these. Nike is one of the reasons that killed And1. To this day, you probably thought this was an And1 commercial. It's not. This is a Nike commercial.
The turning point for And1 came in the fashion of an ad, and not one of their own. Nike released
This
the
commercial is so
streetball-inspired
classic.
commercial, known today as the Nike Freestyle commercial, starring some of the best ball handlers in the league like Jason Williams and Baron Davis. It was basically a declaration of war on And1 and everything they stood for. And guys, remember, this is the early 2000s. Commercials carried weight back then. With Nike clearly aiming fire at And1, the players on the And1 team truly saw how big of a brand it had become because, you know, Nike was targeting them as a major competitor.
We can't let that. We can't play the commercial.
And they realized that although And1 was doing really well, obviously because Nike was after him, they were only seeing a fraction of the profits. And even though some of the mixtape players were apparently paid more than the sponsored NBA players, it was too late. The downfall had begun. The And1 teammates started showing a lot of animosity towards each other. There was a growing jealousy and even locker room fights.
Yep.
It was all bad. And1 went from $200 million in sales per year to $130 million in the snap of a finger. They had to lay off 50% of the staff and only had a short time to sell the company to maximize its value. Unfortunately, a sale was made, and American Sporting Goods bought And1 in 2005. It was really unexpected by the players. There was no notice. The owners never sat with the team members to discuss it being sold. The professor even said that he was told the news just as someone handed him a copy of the latest Sports Illustrated with the team on the cover. So when it was sold, it left a bitter taste in the mouth of the guys who had been loyal since the beginning. What should have continued to be a success story about a company built from scratch making it big dwindled away over time, with the new owners never investing as much in the company as the original founders. And although And1 would change hands, they would still sign players and sponsor tournaments across the world, but would never be the same as the old days. The players
It wouldn't have the same feel.
felt it was the end of their careers, but as for Skip to Malou, he was the only And1 player to actually play in the NBA. He actually had a decent 11-year NBA career.
Yes, he
Still
did.
though, there's
Smack Eddie House, bro, made my logo go from here to here. I remember it. On my life, I was watching that live on TV. I think it was a primetime game. He smacked Eddie House in his head, bro.
style of play and memorable moments have left a lasting legacy in the world of basketball, and And1 remains an iconic figure in streetball to this day. If you lived through this era, you'll never forget it. The nicknames, the baggy tracksuits, the ginormous shorts and oversized jerseys, the excitement of finding out someone you knew got their hands on the new And1 mixtape, all those
That move was sus as looking back at it. I ain't gonna lie, yo. Get the off me.
the excitement of finding out someone you knew got
This grabbed his neck, brought it close to him, and did a freaky ass move. Get the off of me.
their hands on the new
I put the gun in. Let's stop hooping.
And1 mixtape,
That was
all those
crazy.
crazy trash talking slogans. I mean, it was an incredible era of basketball. It was an era that, although now partially lost to history, It popularized streetball forever, and with the continued influence of streetball in professional leagues today, the basketball community will forever be in debt to And1.
There will never be another And1.